Summer heat, it is on. And you know, if we can feel it, imagine what your plants can feel, what your flowers can feel, your landscape through and through. Horticulturist and landscape designer Patrick Dickinson of Rooted In is here to help us out a little bit when it comes to our garden, because I'm gonna be very honest, I have a brown thumb, literally and figuratively. Good morning to you. Okay, so tell me, what should we be doing to prepare our plants for this summer heat? You brought us some examples today as well.
I did. So watering deeply and less often.
Okay.
We want to get that water as deep as we possibly can because the roots will follow the water.
Got it.
But if you're watering too often, then you get a shallow root system.
Right, so it's just sitting at the top. That's
so
the only thing that receives
watering,
water.
1 inch of water once a week is what's recommended. And
Got
if you
it.
can't get through that once a week, I say then you have a dependent landscape. And you can train your plants to grow deeper roots.
Okay, interesting. I've actually seen on TikTok and just the social medias in general where people are now taking the pot and just setting it in like a big bowl of water and just letting the plant soak up all of the water. Do you think that's a good idea as well?
Which is another great lesson because the trick question is, do the leaves of plants need water?
Do they?
No.
Oh, okay.
So when you're not putting the water on the leaves and you're putting them at the roots, you're reducing your chances of disease and insect.
Interesting. Okay, so then getting bitten up and eaten up by the insects that are around, but also just mildew and all the things that can set on top. Look at me, I do know a few things about plants. My mom is actually very good at planting. It did not get passed down though. Yeah, so tell me though, what if you do all of this, right, and you train your landscape and it's still just struggling in the heat? Because I mean, it's just unforgiving here.
You probably have the wrong plant palette. And the great thing in our industry is we're seeing a huge shift to go to native and adaptive plants, which is all what we brought today.
Okay.
And we brought different groupings so people can see what you want to achieve. For example, what's trending right now is everybody wants to do cactus, yucca, things of that nature with a gravel base, which is great and almost no maintenance. People also want evergreen. There's people that don't want things to go dormant in the winter. Then you've got your perennial pollinator grouping. And then for any other people who don't have enough sunlight, shade gardening.
Yes, that's good. I think this is where most people gravitate to, I think.
With our trees maturing, we have to think outside the turf box and change our plant palette.
Yes, indeed. Okay, so could you show us, because I know you just broke it down into categories. Let's start over here because I heard you mention cacti.
Yes.
And anything that involves gravel is probably the least maintenance possible, which is right up my alley, which would be this area right here.
Which is the lowest to no maintenance. The only maintenance you would have is if you wanted to cut off this bloom when it's done. And many people recognize this Hesperallo as the plants that are planted down the middle of Central Highway.
Yes.
And so these are a top hummingbird plant.
Oh, okay,
so
nice.
Not
Very good.
a true red yucca. And then the evergreen portion you have right here has a lot of contrast. And that's one of the things that we need to look at is contrasting textures and colors. As a designer, those are my two favorite principles to follow. Because if you plant everything with the same color palette or textures, it all just blends together. You get what I call a green blob.
You know, I like that you called yourself a designer because that's really what it is, like designing and making sure like you, again, mix the textures to make sure it looks nice. We want to make sure it stays alive, of course, but
and designers,
sure that
we
it's
have to
aesthetically
offer,
pleasing.
Yeah, we have to offer different styles as well. Because we
I
all have different styles and tastes, right?
We do indeed. We do indeed, especially if I'm the one that doesn't want to garden or basically touch it in any way. So tell me, speaking of that, what kind of maintenance do you need to do once you start planting these things for each different category?
So these are all classified as low to zero maintenance, which is all we specialize in.
Very good.
So your truly no maintenance would be that xeric, arid, cacti, yucca. Your evergreen shrubs, they might need a little hair prune, haircut maybe once or twice a year. Your perennials, what's great about perennial pollinator gardens, these go dormant in the winter. You prune them back once a year, and you get a whole new plant every year.
Very good.
Shade gardening, which is one of my favorites, actually can be a benefit that it doesn't require as much water.
Okay.
You also get less weeds because of less sunlight penetration coming through the garden. So this is also all low to zero maintenance, and that's what we want for everybody. We want you to sit back and enjoy it and not work for it.
Yes, indeed. Okay, now I have to ask you because we talked about these pretty thoroughly, right?
Yeah.
But I want to know what's your favorite. And we've got colors over here.
So I did bring a couple of my favorites. You know, these breeders with the plants are having a field day breeding these plants. This is a type of Rosa Sharon or Althea, which are the common names, which a lot of people don't realize are true hibiscus. It's Hibiscus syricus.
Yes,
People
love hibiscus.
Oh, and they top hummingbird plants, pollinators, blooms all summer long. they're breeding all these different dwarf compact varieties, different colors. The same thing with the butterfly bush. So there's a space and a size plant for every space. So right plant, right place.
Okay, very good. Well, some good tips this morning. Honestly, I felt like I needed to write them down. I'm sure you probably feel like that too. So tell me, where can people find you so they can get those tips again?
Rootedin.com. That's where we place all of our information and all of our social media as well.
Super easy. Thank you so much for being here this morning and teaching us a little bit this morning.